Good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Vibe here. Always hope you're keeping blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And it is the morning vibe. We are broadcasting live on April 24th. Hope you, if wherever you're watching this, well, you may or may not have had a good weekend because there is something called replay. So I just want to make sure that you're all good wherever you are. Dr. Vibe here as always. So I am the co-host and co-producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of epic conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. And through that's sponsored, I can't forget that, sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team over the last 2 years, reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. So as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And you know the Monday drill, just some people know the correct Monday drill. This is the Monday drill. This episode of The Morning Vibe is sponsored by the Macmillan Group, providing mortgage solutions one client at a time since 1999, buying, refinancing, or investing. Call them at Actually, you know what? I'm going to give you the contact information in a minute, because if I read this, it's not going to give the full drill. So let's take the Macmillan Group information off, and let me give you the correct contact information for the Macmillan Group. We have it here. In Canada, 905-813-4354. US, 904-586-5636. Toll free in North America, 1-866-883-0885. And the website address, the Macmillan Group Inc.com, and you can contact the Macmillan Group via email, raycmcmillan@gmail.com. So coming off a weekend, let me just do something. I'm going to clear my voice here. Okay, that's better. That sounds or feels better to me. Hope everyone had a great weekend. People say, so what did you do over your weekend? Well, I attended yesterday a really amazing event. I attended a couple's 50th wedding anniversary. Black couple, 50 years. And the husband was a police officer for many of those years. So how many people do you know in the world, Black police officer for at least 30 plus years? It was an amazing event. And the reason I was there, well, my dad, their wedding anniversary was on April 21st. So it was held on April 23rd, 2 days difference. The wild thing is, my dad was the MC at their original wedding, and he was the first person asked to speak at their event yesterday. So it's really cool. Stella and Stan Pinnock, many happy years to come. Two wonderful children. One of their daughters, they have two daughters. One of the daughters is actually teaching in Dubai, which is crazy. And she sent her best wishes. She couldn't make the event live, but there was about 250 people at the Jamaican Canadian Association. So it was a great exhibition of Black love. So that 50 years, how many of us, we want to live 50 years, let alone be with the same partner for 50 years. So you know what? I'm going to actually see, and actually they own a farm just outside of Toronto that I'm speaking, they're both going to be fine. I'm going to go out there in the summertime and maybe do a little video recording of both of them talking about some of their journey, because I think it'd be a great testimonial to have them on the platform. So people are saying, where's Ryan? Ryan is not here today. He's actually on a business trip for the day, so you won't see him till Friday. So a few things on top of that to get the Ryan thing out of the way. Always, you can subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. If you do it on YouTube, hit the subscribe and the notification button. When you hit the notification button, it tells you when upcoming conversations are happening. Like it on Facebook or wherever you're watching. Like, share. So got that out of the way. Let's see, got some people already in this morning. So good morning. Let's see who's shouting out. Fitness IQ Cam, good morning. Roger Dundas from Halifax. Hey, people, heads up. Black Restaurant Week is coming. Buy Blacks Black Restaurant Week is coming. So keep it locked, especially on the Dr. Vibe Show platform. I'll be doing some conversations throughout that week. So that is going to be amazing. And Roger, your name, it always comes up in a lot of my conversations. Can't remember when it came up recently, but that's another thing. Oh, another positive thing. Fitness goes, yes, while Roger says sweet, LOL, and then good morning, everyone from the DMV area. Divine Right, excellent, excellent. O'Donnell, mukbang. That's a personal joke, but behave yourself, O'Donnell, with the mukbang. Maybe you want to tell people what that is in the comments. She's trying to get me to do some stuff with mukbang. I don't remember exactly what it is, but maybe she'll be able to say in the comments. Just some program alerts. So this Friday, I have a digital friend named Terry Johnson, who is going to give some really good game on social media and social media marketing. I've known Terry digitally for a number of years, and she is right on the cusp of digital marketing and social media trends. So you do not want to miss this. She's top game in regards to that. And then next Monday, Dr. Tachi is back. So she's going to be talking about media tech, pop culture so far in 2023. And then not a week from this Friday, Wayne Harris. So we have a full slate for the next little bit. But as always, tell us who you'd like to have on the platform and we can reach out to them. So that covers us till now for the next 2 weeks. We are covered. Christopher Lawrence, yes. Where's Ryan? Ryan, he's off to Montreal. That's where he said he had to go to. So he's on his way to Montreal. And okay, so we got the explanation about what mukbang is. It's a video event featuring people eating. So that's our word for the day, mukbang. So she's trying to get me into mukbang because I'm a foodie, and maybe Roger and I can do some mukbang stuff together. I don't know. All right, so let's get to it. We've got a friend we haven't seen for a while on the Morning Vibe, and this gentleman was one of the people that blew up. I think he was one of the people that blew up. Probably the first person that blew up the Morning Vibe when he was on last year with his thought process, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of people say, man, that guy is on point. This, that, and the other thing. Now, he has not been on the Morning Vibe for a while, but in the meantime, he's actually put out his first book. So we may have a little chat about that. And he also wants to chat today about a great conversation topic called the sophistication of self-preservation. So you got to be ready for next level thinking when Perry Douglas is on the line. What's up, Perry?
Nothing much, brother. How you doing?
Outstanding. I am blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, solution for someone's problem. And Roger, I'm going to say it for you, Blackalicious.
That's a mouthful.
How you been, man? How you been?
I've been good, man. I've been good. It's been hectic. It's been a hectic, 6 months and actually 3 months. Launched my book in early April. Yep, in Montreal. So that took up a lot of time. So it was all good. It was all good, and I combined the book launch with putting together a program for mental health for youth to get access to mental health in Montreal through a buddy of mine's organization called DJ Sports, Dr. John Sports Club, which is a big community organization in Montreal. It's been around for 25 plus years. So I had a lot of friends, come out. And it was a great night, a great event at a great restaurant. And
what was the name of the restaurant? What was the restaurant name? Because I know it's probably Roger Dundas, our resident foodie. What was it? Yes. What was it called?
It was called It's called Tropical, right? And great spot, great vibe, and they're actually opening up another one in Ottawa.
Oh.
Yeah. So they're looking to do a chain or something like that.
Right.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. And I mentioned Roger Dundas for people who do or do not know. Roger's been at over 300 Black-owned restaurants in Canada.
That's great.
And I think, Tropical is definitely in his top 5 in all of Canada.
You mentioned that. mentioned that. Yeah, in the
So
top five. So
that's
no, it was all good. It was a great event. A lot of old friends came out. A buddy of mine, Ricky Daly from high school, Ricky Daly Events. He's a big events organizer, promoter in Montreal. So he helped me with that. And my other good friend, Pat Dillon, also helped me with that. So it was great because a lot of my, early childhood friends just came out in support, and that was the best part of it. Going back to your hometown and getting support from your people is humbling, and it was just a great evening and a great book launch.
all right. So you're
Yeah.
getting some love from the morning show family. Divine Right, congratulations, Perry, on the book launch. And she's a big proponent of self-publishing. She
Oh
does a
yeah,
lot of self. Yes. So
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
we'll pause on that just for a second. We're going to come
Yeah. No
back to
problem.
it. Fitness IQ Camp says, I wish I knew about it when I was living there. And also says, good morning, Mr. Perry. So let's take a few moments about your book, because
Yeah.
on another one of my platforms, we went a deep dive, but the Morning Vibe Show family may not know a lot about it. So talk about
Yeah.
your book for a few minutes with our family.
Yeah, well, the book is called it's called Applied Intelligence, a Renaissance in Youth Thinking for Caribbean Prosperity. And oh, there it is. There it is. In the 21st century. It's available. It's available on Amazon. You can go on Amazon and Perry C. Douglas, and the book is there. So what you're gonna find in the book essentially is what I'm introducing is a way of thinking, that's efficient, that might help you along your journey in life. And what I've tried to do is I try to, in the book, in the opening, in the preface, I give a quote from Marcus Garvey that, intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. I think that's one of the most prophetic quotes ever, because that's the way the world works. And I think, what I endeavor to explain to people is that we have to use our intelligence, our intellect, more than we use our emotions, right? And when we apply intelligence to problems and to just our everyday life, we tend to get better results. And the real key, in this book, as you go into it, is truly understanding how the universe works. And if you understand how the universe works, you will do better in the universe versus the universe, taking advantage of you. So the first part of the book really explains what applied intelligence is. It explains a little bit about thinking models, mathematics, data science, all those things in terms of quantitative thinking, in how you can apply that quantitative thinking to your everyday life and ultimately to your happiness. And then from there, the book gets into more focus on how the Caribbean can prosper in the 21st century. How do you apply now what you just learned in the first part of the book to other areas that might help, that can help the Caribbean, prosper. And really, at the end of the day, even though, subtitle is a Renaissance for New Thinking in the 21st century for Caribbean prosperity, which is also a mouthful, it really is a book about how to perform in life and how to get what you want out of life by going through a few basic principles. And if you could understand those basic principles of life and you can apply it to everyday life, I hope that the book will serve its purpose of essentially helping people.
Good. Well, we're not going to get too much more in the book today, but I will ask you this conversation piece. How is Perry different after writing the book, if in any way?
Yeah. One thing I do, how I'm different, I really know how little I know. I don't know if that makes sense, but I really know how little I know. I'm educated, all that kind of stuff. And, but at the end of the day, the amount of knowledge that I've picked up by writing the book really humbles you and gives you more thirst for knowledge. So I'm even more skeptical about things, and I tend to look at things more quantitatively and mathematically. And I'm looking at things. Things are never as they seem, right? What you have in front of you is never as they seem. You have to take the time, and life is work. Happiness is work. That's what I've learned. Happiness is not a human right. Happiness has to be worked for by the decisions you make. And happiness is a conscious thing. You just don't wake up every morning and you're happy. You got to work at it. So it's given me more of appreciation for life. It's given me more of an appreciation for truth and honesty and just speaking what you believe and not just falling for anything that people tell you or others just try to distract you with.
Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. O Downer saying, I love it. Sounds like a good premise for a channel, a journey.
Yeah. Well, I do have a YouTube channel that I put that up. So if you could go to my YouTube channel, I have some videos there. I have the video, which actually I'm looking at it. I couldn't believe there's so many people watch that, but I did a talk at McGill University. I did it. That's my old alma mater. My son went there. My daughter is there now in her first year, and I did a talk, and it went very well. And there's some other things that I've done. There's about 25 minutes of the book launch on there, so you can I encourage people to go there. You may see some people that it's all it's a small world, Toronto, Montreal. So I'm trying to do the social media things, All
right. Well, that's fantastic. Well, today you wanted to come on and share about a very interesting subject, talking about the sophistication of self-preservation. And I'm going,
yes.
Okay, that's a lot. That's a mouthful. That is a huge mouthful. And also want to talk, because you also wanted to refer to an article. So let me bring this article up to give it some premise. So we can get into this conversation. And everyone, especially if you're watching live, comments are always welcome. So Perry, kick it off.
Yeah. So the sophistication of self-preservation is one of the major themes in my book. And the person who I've been working with, my publicist and friend Pat Dillon, she's like, man, the sophistication of self-preservation. Explain that? What is that? I mean, as she read the book, she's like, wow, this is really kind of cool. So the sophistication of self-preservation is really trying to understand the human condition. Okay, the human condition for security, right? And just before I get into the article, let me just back up a little bit and give you a little bit about what sophistication of self-preservation is. The human condition, the biggest thing in the human condition is for security, right? Therefore, it all centers around, survival, self-preservation. And that goes way back, thousands of years of human existence, from hunter-gatherer days to where we had tribes. And everything was about how do you survive, from that time. So what is true in nature, right, is that technology, has evolved, and the systems of survival have changed and evolved and have gotten more complex. But human nature very much stays the same, right? The complexities of the world has gotten more complicated, but our human nature in regards to survive or whatnot remains the same. And our ability to survive and thrive in the universe is our ability to interact in the universe. And how do we interact in the universe, and how do we, gain power in the universe, right? So when we think about the sophistication of self-preservation, everybody is going through the same thing. Everybody's going for power, right? And which is necessary, to gain security. So in order to do that, we must sophisticate ourselves through intellect and entrepreneurship, okay, in order to create, wealth, in order to create security, right? And really, at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing. Now, some may have done it better than others, and they now have power. But this goes back thousands of years. It's no different, again, in hunter-gatherer days to now. So one of the things that the applied intelligence does, and the sophistication of self-preservation does, I believe if you can't apply your knowledge, then it's not, if knowledge can't be applied, then it's not very useful. And one of the big things, as you know, that has come up since the George Floyd tragic, murder, actually, not, it's murder of George Floyd, is that many groups have come up and everybody's come in for solutions, right? Everybody said, oh, here's the solutions for Black people, for wealth and all that. And a lot of those solutions have been top down, highly academic, okay? Quick. Everybody wants it fast. Everybody wants it, quick. But that's not how the world works. It took us 400 plus, 500 plus actual years to be in this predicament, as Black people. Change is not going to happen overnight. So what I like to focus on is I like to stay away from the distraction, stay away from the hype, stay away from the emotion, and focus on things that can really help. So I'm a bottom-up type of guy, right? That's how the world works. Bottom-up entrepreneurship, education. That's how economies and civilizations flourish, and that's how societies and groups flourish in nature, right? It's always been that way. Nothing has changed. So the Meek Mill and Kevin Hart donation to the Philadelphia schools, I think there's one other guy in there too. So when I see the headlines, I just don't read headlines. So I go into the article. And when I read the article, what these guys were doing, okay, is there's a lot of organizations out there and they're trying to do this top down, that doesn't work. These guys have decided to take their money, okay, and invest in schools, and invest in education, and invest in tutoring, and invest in scholarships for young Black kids to be able to perform academically, and then provide scholarships for them to go to the top university. Okay, the reality is, if you have a lot of these kids in our communities now, it's not about intellect. Okay, it's about opportunity. Okay, the white kid, the Chinese kid. Nobody has difference in intellect. It's about opportunity and it's about application. But in order to do these things, it requires wealth. It's as simple as that. So in order, instead of trying to give these top-down things and create programs and create organizations, that doesn't work. What we have to do is we have to invest in the long-term prosperity of our people. So I thought it was really good when I saw Kevin Hart and Meek Mills given donations in regard, I'm going to back up on that word. They didn't call it donations, and neither should I. Invest in young people, investing in their education, investing in simple things as a laptop, investing in simple things for internet. A lot of kids don't even have internet. Okay. All these things provide education. All these things allow these kids to get to the next level. And make no doubt about it, if these kids get tutoring and help on their SATs and all that, they get to go to the big schools. They get to go to the Harvards and all that. And guarantee when you go to an Ivy League school or a top school, it's a license to print money because you're going to succeed. So from a probability, mathematical, quantitative perspective, your probability of success in life is greater, okay, if you have these opportunities. So I just wanted to say that these guys, there's a lot of celebrities, it's all fluff. These guys are exhibiting the sophistication of self-preservation, the use of intellect to properly invest in things that will actually help people over the long term, because it's a long game. It's a long game. It's not a short game. It took 400 years to get here, right? I'm not saying it's going to take 400 years, but what I'm saying here, you have to think long term. You can't think short term.
All right, great open for our conversation. I'm going to bring up a living, breathing example that's happened recently. I don't know and you're pretty adept on what's going on news-wise.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the San Francisco NAACP pushing, there's hearings going on or talks going on in San Francisco right now about reparations.
Yeah,
and
I don't know about that, but I'm pretty familiar.
Yeah,
reparations.
Yeah. So they one of the ideas they were kicking around was saying that every and they have some criteria, but basically blacks in the San Francisco area who have a long heritage, they would get approximately like $800,000 US directly in reparations. San Francisco NAACP says, no, we should be the person handling that.
Oh,
We
the
want to
NAACP.
be, they say we should be administering that. We want to invest it in this, and this. Now, just on your premise that you want things from the ground up, do you feel that the help should be going directly to the people that need, or should there be organizations that handle the administration of people getting direct help?
Yeah, for me, as a person who has, so for me, I take it like this. I have fundamental principles of how I live my life and what I believe in. And I believe in individualism, and I believe people are intellectually, if they have knowledge, they will be fine. And it's up to them in this world to make it and take responsibility. The problem historically has been when you give money to organizations, okay? And this goes back and you got to look at history as examples. This goes back to, when Africa started becoming independent, and when the Caribbean started becoming independent, and organizations tend to get corrupt, okay? And what happens is when you give organizations which are top down, you have other people making decisions on your life, right? So if these people deserve this money and there's a calculation of who gets what, give them the money. If they mess up with the money, that's their business. When you have overseeing organizations, it tends to be corrupt. And let's be honest. Let's look at what happened. Black Lives Matter. I don't have any issues with Black Lives Matter as an organization and what they're trying to do, but it became corrupt, and everybody, I think one guy's going to jail because he's taking millions of dollars. Human nature with power tends to corrupt, and absolute power, corrupts absolutely. So for me is, look, what I think also is that reparations is a big distraction. Okay, because reparations is not going to solve anything. Okay, even if somebody gets $800,000, that's wonderful. But from a holistic, the problems that face, Black people in the universe, reparations are not going to solve it. So if we focus on reparations and waiting for money and waiting for this, the universe doesn't stop. The universe continues to go. And as you know, in physics, the universe continues to expand. So the world continues to go, the world continues to expand, and you're sitting there waiting for reparations. It's not going to help you. Stuff like what Meek Mills and Kevin Hart and stuff is doing is investing in education, investing in their kids, investing in entrepreneurship. Okay, bottom up. Okay, there is no evidence in history that any civilization has been successful, any group of people have been successful from academic top-down building. In fact, the data says since World War II, when sort of the development discourse, started, it's been a miserable failure. So the evidence points to, from the beginning of time, man has survived in nature from bottom up. And you have to allow people to make mistakes, and you have to allow people to lose money or whatnot. That's how people learn, and that's the system. So for me, I would say don't get distracted with reparations. Focus. Life comes down to what you can do for yourself, and how you can help yourself, how you can create networks, how you can create relationships, and how you can prosper. Because guess what? Okay, power comes from entrepreneurship, and that economic flow flows to politics, and then that flow falls to justice. That's how the world works. So being distracted by reparations is, people are killing you slowly, and you don't understand it, because what they're doing is they're distracting you away from how things actually work into how things don't work. And those people who continue to distract you are the ones who get it and continue to prosper over you, right? While you worry about the reparations. No reparations is going to solve our problems. We have to solve our own problems from the inside out.
Okay. Self-preservation. You've told us where it should be. Where do you feel it is for melanated people right now? When someone says, "Okay, Perry, what is self-preservation right now in the average melanated person?" What are they thinking about? What's their context of self-preservation right now?
Yeah. So there lies the problem. We have none, right? So what we innately, from a human condition perspective, okay, we all have the ability to survive and, and things like that. But from a self-preservation perspective, we don't understand the universe. So the whole point of the sophistication of self-preservation is to understand the complexities of the universe. I had a quote sent out the other day that as an ecology, organisms tend to expand by learning how to first survive, okay, before thriving in their ecosystems. So human systems are very much the same. So to understand the sophistication of self-preservation, we have to understand the universe first. That's the first thing. If we understand the principles of nature, okay, if we understand the ecosystem that we live in, if we understand the things that influence us, and if we understand bottom up works versus top down, we have to understand. So we have to understand the game before we can play to win. If we don't understand the game, then we continue to be distracted and we continue to lose. Just let's be honest. Look at the score. We're not doing very well, but we get easily distracted, okay, by things like reparation. We get easily distracted by this victimhood and thinking that other people are going to solve our problems for us, and we get distracted by nice things that sound well and a whole bunch of different things. But the things we have to do, right, from a sophistication of self-preservation perspective, using our intelligence, growing ourselves from the bottom up, investing in ourselves, investing in each other, which we don't do, okay, all right, which we don't do. We tear each other down more than anything else. So all the things that we're supposed to do, we're distracted from that, and we do the things that we're not supposed to do. And Marcus Garvey was right. Intelligence rules the world. So who uses their intelligence rules the world, creates economic power, okay? Who doesn't use their intelligence and uses emotions, we carry the burden. So you got to make your choice. How do you want to live your life? You want to live your life from an intellectual, quantitative, mathematical thinking perspective, logic, or do you want to live your life with emotion, easily distracted, and intuition? Okay, so that is a form of ignorance, and I use the word ignorance in the pure academic sense of the word. It's not trying to insult or whatnot. Intelligence, we all have intellect, and we all have ignorance. Ignorance, not knowing is okay, but willfully, okay, not trying to learn and not trying to understand, okay, that's ignorance. So identify yourself in that framework. Okay, and see where you end up and what you need to do.
So you've shared with us, and we're here with Perry Douglas talking about the sophistication of self-preservation on the Morning Vibe. If you have any questions and comments, please bring them to the table. Divine Right from the DMV says, found your book on Amazon. Can't wait to buy it.
Thank you.
So
much appreciated.
And O'Donnell says, yeah, she's loving what you are sharing. So you've told us where we need to be. What when you given the example, the Meek Mill, Kevin Hart example. Where can this start in the melanated family home?
Yes, excellent question. Everything starts in the home, man. I mean, Dr. Vibe, that is the question that we continue to not get. Where I come from, I'm born in Grenada, and my boy Ray Williams, we're Grenada boys. We
yes.
My Tivoli Massive, I call him. So we essentially, things start in the home. I was left, and I'm sure a lot of us could understand it. I was left when I was 6 years old with my grandmother and my aunt, and I had all my aunties there, whatnot, and I had a good, bring up, and I had love, and I had care, and I had rules, and I had understanding, and I had responsibility. And when I came to Toronto, my mother, man, God rest her soul, she was like stricter. I went back to when I was in Montreal. I had a elementary school reunion, and they were saying, oh man, I said, how you guys remember? He said, your mom was so strict. Oh, you couldn't go do this, you couldn't do that. She was strict. Thank God, God bless her for being strict, because there could have been another path. Because there, you know, as you grew up, there's guys with drugs, they're stealing, they're doing all kinds of stuff. Now, man, she told me you're smart, you're bright, you're going to school, you're going to do this, and you know what? These are the things, and these are the principles that we are responsible for. And as parents, okay, and from a broader type of, you know, extended family, we have to take responsibility for our own lives. We have to take responsibility for our kids. We do not cipher off responsibility to organizations, even to teachers and all that. Doesn't mean teachers and all these people shouldn't do their job, but your job as a parent, your responsibility is to your children. And if you can give them the basics, the fundamentals, and let them understand about education and how the world works, okay? Once you build that foundation, Dr. Vibe, you're building on solid ground. So your probability of success, I'm just thinking quantitatively and mathematically, your probability of success in the universe is going to go up because you're building on solid ground. If you don't build on solid ground, your chances are you're going to fail. It's simple math. It's simple logic. Okay, stay away from the emotion. So you as parents, we have a significant responsibility, okay, to our kids, and it starts in the home. And it's a culture. I always say, you know, I have
now you're reading my alleged mind, because I think
it's a culture.
Really this culture thing is really important, because if you know, comparing other cultures to melanated culture and what they put their premises on, is very, very key, because and I think this all has to do with the preservation.
Yes.
What it does, culture and preservation, it's tied hand in hand. Because if you want to see the state of preservation in any people, look at their culture.
Yep.
Look at their culture. So you've talked about stuff in the home, and I want to go. Actually, O'Downer says, yes, so true. There's nothing that one-on-one from a parent truth. And I know O'Donnell, she actually works with a lot of young people. So she's feeling it. She's got your back.
Yep.
How important is the state of the Black family to Black self-preservation?
You know, the state of the Black family is the most important thing. Okay. And one of the things, you know, one of the reasons why I did my book launch with my buddy Dexter, to give access to mental health, is because mental health is the most important thing. Okay, because one of the things I cover in the book, on the chapter called Quantitative Thinking and the Racism Disorder, right? So in that particular chapter, I explain, okay, and I provide you the research. So everything I do is not opinion. I provide you the research, and I give an explanation of why this is important. We in a society, racism creates anxiety. It creates stress. It creates once you start believing in, so white supremacy as a construct is purposeful, okay, in order for white supremacy to continue to elevate. That's the way it is. Now, if you buy into that white supremacy and you don't, this is what I'm trying to say, you got to understand the game. If you understand the game, and if you understand that this is a tribal thing, this is about self-preservation, one group is trying to get over on another. If you understand the game and you understand the purpose of racism and the purpose of what it is, then you could stand back and say, hey, I understand the game. But if you don't understand the game, you start buying into it, you start believing that one group of people are smarter, better than you and whatnot, and that causes you stress and that causes you anxiety, right? So one of the most important things is that we have to get our mental health in order, and we have to pay attention to our mental health, and we have to normalize our mental health, because good mental health is probably the number one factor for performance, right? Because if you're in a good state of mind, and you as a family, parents in the house, emphasize good mental health, good mental well-being, okay, if there, there's a lot of people in our society where we identify things like, bipolar and things and things like that, where we don't pay attention to those things, right? So we need as a group of people in order to self-preserve ourselves, we have to be in good mental health and good mental condition, because if we're not in good mental health and good mental condition, we can't perform. So all these things we are responsible for in the home, okay, is to make sure we understand these things. And again, it's all about the sophistication of self-preservation, because this is more the complexities of understanding how the universe works and how the world works. And if we could understand this work, we can write our own playbook in order to succeed in the universe. And that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Okay, some more comments from the family here. Hayden says, morning, Hayden, by the way. As a child, I was taught that it was intelligence and brilliance that came to rule the world. As I grew, I discovered it was actually naked brutality and greed that rules the world.
No, I wouldn't. I think this is the emotional. This is my point. This is the emotional response to it. Okay, because intelligence, as I go back before, everybody seeking the same thing. Everybody is seeking security in the human condition. We are all the same. Guess what? In Africa, Black leaders, tribal, okay, brutalize their own people. Okay, so brutality is not innate, okay, to only white people. Okay, if you go through the history of the world, slavery did exist for thousands of years. Now, the slavery that we're used to in the last 500 years, yes, it's been brutal, but slavery was not an emotional construct. It was an economic construct, because in order for Europe to expand, they needed more resources. Okay, so slavery in itself was an economic thing. It wasn't, an emotional thing. So if you look at what slavery was, the greatest wealth creator for Europe. What do you think the Buckingham Palace? What do you think? How did they build that palace? So you have to look at it intellectually. Okay, that's intelligence rules the world. Now, no self-interest and nobody's saying to go out and do slavery. That's not the point. The point is to understand self-interest, to understand people are there, okay, from tribal days, hunter-gatherer days. People considered their tribe, and they looked for hunting and gathering grounds and they went to war for those areas of hunting and gathering in order to survive. So you fast forward, 5,000 years, 10,000 years, and you into the modern era, the last 2,000 years, nothing has really changed in the human condition, and nothing has really changed in regards to how to succeed. Okay, it's this. You can't let your emotions get to you. Okay, and brutality and whatnot. Guess what? The world is a rough place. Okay, and the world owes you nothing. It owes you nothing. Life is what you make of it. And if you sit there with the victimhood attitude that, the world is against me, the white man this or the white man that, well, you know what? The world keeps on going. The universe continues to expand. And and from a physics perspective, if the world continues to expand and you're standing still, you're actually moving backward. So you make the decision. You can stick with the victimhood, or you can apply intelligence and move on and do better for your family. Because guess what? Nobody cares. Okay? The only person who's going to have to care is you and your family. Nobody cares about you. This is the way the universe has always been. And I think as Black people, we don't understand that. Okay? We don't understand that. Okay? This is human nature. And nature has not changed in the last 2,000 years in the Common Era.
All right. Another comment here from the family. Fitnet says, I'm just taking it in. Yeah, this is deep thinking here today. So if you're just hanging out, taking in, good stuff. Divine Right says, I totally agree that we don't invest in each other, though. We are quick to invest in retail that doesn't look like us, but not invest in one another.
That's a very good point. I'm going to tell you, right? So in the Jewish community, okay, and I have a friend with a Jewish Rabbi Bessinger in Montreal. And I'm actually, just to give him some props, he runs a big organization in Montreal called Shabbat Lifeline. And they are the ones who we are joining with to provide those services for free, okay, to our community. So who are the ones who actually are helping us? Okay, it's with the Jewish community. And one of the things I've learned, okay, in a Jewish community, they have a culture and they have a method. They have sophisticated their self-preservation. Okay, they understood, and guess what? They've gone through over 4,000 years of suffering. They've suffered, and if you want to go back in history to see their suffering, go in the book. I detail everything, because one of the things I do is I detail everything, because people don't really know, and history is the most important thing, because history is data. Okay, so they have been able to say, hey, we're not Rabbi Messenger, we don't think of ourselves as victims. Okay, they said, we look even at the Holocaust, they're like, we're not a victim, we got to fight, and we got to figure this out, and we got to get it together. And they're successful because they understand how the world works. Okay, so we as a people have to get it together. Okay, figure it out, understand how it works, and I walk people through in the book how these things happen, and I give you real examples. So one of the things I'm careful of, okay, is not to get into philosophy, is to give you real examples, okay, to understand how the world works. And if you can, my purpose here is, if you can understand how the world works, you can take care of yourself and you can succeed. But if you don't understand how the world works, you're going to continue to become a victim of the universe. I don't know if that answers your question. I might have got strayed there, but
it's all right. Well, it's all right. The family's in good, and and a good example is, if you look at Jewish culture.
Yes.
Let's put it out there. A lot of the media is controlled by.
Absolutely.
Right. So I don't know the name of the book. It's a culture of their own. I'll see if I can pull it up before we finish up here. But they, as a people, realize, look, we control our message.
Correct.
To the point now, but not only do they control their message, they control a lot of people's message, because a lot of these outlets are owned by.
Yeah.
So they not only control, and so that is, again, they looked at, if we're going to preserve ourselves, one of the key things is we have to control the message that is broadcast to the world.
100%, 100%,
right?
100%.
And self-preservation.
Self-preservation. And I want to use Dr. Vibe, you're giving me some really good things today. The example of the Jews are so important, because we, when this whole nonsense with Kanye West talking about the Jews controlling the media or whatnot, well, so what? If they figure it out how to work for it and get it, why are you hating on them? Don't hate people because they're successful. But one of the things, again, in the book, is understanding how these things have happened. So if you go back in history, the Jews have been persecuted for 2,000 years. In the last millennium, okay, in places like France and other places, the Jews, they would take away their land. You've heard of the Spanish Inquisition. Anything that wasn't Christianity, okay, where people were persecuted, they were murdered. Okay, so literally the Jews in France is one example, right, would have land and they would have real estate and all. The king would come and just take it away from the Jews. So the reason why Jews are spread out all over the world is because they were persecuted in different places in the world. So they realized that the only way we're going to survive the sophistication of self-preservation is to be able to do jobs that was in the area of, money lending to begin with, accounting, financing, lawyers, technical things. Because they couldn't own real estate, they couldn't own land, they couldn't own property, they couldn't create wealth that way. So then they didn't say, oh my God, we can't create wealth that way, so we're gonna just give up. Nah, we're gonna create it in this particular way. So they've worked their way into control. And I can't hate people for figuring out and mastering the sophistication of self-preservation and winning. Instead of us looking at them and blaming them and making blame, why don't we look at ourselves? What are we doing to change our own lives? What are we doing to understand the sophistication of self-preservation? Because hating on the Jews, and listening to stupidity from Kanye ain't going to help you. Okay, what's going to help you is to figure it out and get your game plan so you can create wealth. I have very little time for victimhood, very little time, because it's not helpful to me.
Okay. As Perry was sharing right there, I did find the name of the book. I'm going to just share it on the screen from Amazon, and it's a book that I'm going to make sure I read in the very near future.
After you read
the Amazon page. Yeah, that's true. Yes, us first. Yeah. Yes, An Empire of Their Own: How the Jews Invented Hollywood.
Yep.
So just a book out there. If go ahead.
Yeah, Hollywood is just an example. Okay, so I don't want what we have to do. That looks like a great book, because really all that book, I haven't read it, but really what I want people to take away from reading a book like that is to learn from how they did it. Okay, exactly. And if you learn from how they did it and then take that and apply it to whatever you want to do. Okay, so for example, in the sports area, you got black guys earning millions and millions of dollars. You got $100-200 million contracts. You got all that wealth, but they haven't figured out how to own anything yet, right?
Or how to start their own league.
Or start their own league, or whatever. They haven't understood how to do that because you know what? They have not engaged in deep thinking, and they have not engaged in applied intelligence. Okay, so if you have all this cash coming through, how come as a people we're still poor? Okay, because how is it, okay, that all this cash is coming through and you can't turn that into intergenerational wealth? What a head start! $200 million contracts or whatnot.
We've got some questions coming in really good, so I'm just going to catch up, and we may go into a little bit of bonus time. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so that's why I'm good. These questions. Okay, so O Downer says, "What you focus on grows." Actually, the other day I was in a gentleman who was is a top person in Canada in regards to mergers and acquisitions, and he said, "What gets measured gets managed."
What's get measured gets managed, and actually. Oh, Downer, that's a very good point, because my wife showed me a video the other day of Michelle Obama, and Michelle Obama said, "You are what you practice." So I guess it was like, if you practice bad habits, if you practice studying hard, if you practice trying to get good grades, you become that. If you're lazy, if you make excuses, that's what you become. So you practice what you become. Right? And it's as simple as that. If you want to become something, you got to focus on that, and you got to practice that every single day.
There you go. Other comments. O'Downer says, "Control your message." Claps. Agreed. Now we got some questions. A number of questions coming in the family. So first thing, Hayden says, "It was not intelligence that built Europe. How does facts translate into victimhood?"
So exactly. So this is the thing. This is where now we get into trouble with emotional thinking. So if you understand, so let me give you the definition. Let me go back to Marcus Garvey again. Intelligence rules the world. Okay. Ignorance carries the burden. If it wasn't intelligence, now you are conflating the emotion of slavery, okay, because race, as Toni Morrison said, is an economic construct. Okay. It's an economic construct. So basically, what he's not understanding, okay, he's not understanding the human condition. He's not understanding nature. Everything is, like I said, back to Hunter again, everything is tribal. And how do you survive in nature? By using your intelligence. And now when it comes to self-interest of one tribe over the other, okay, it's the application of your intelligence to figure out how to do things, right? So I think what he may not be grasping is the academic, is the real use of the word intelligence, because intelligence makes you think, makes you become entrepreneurial. It makes you be, and that's what pushed it forward. Now, nobody's saying, right? Let's be clear. Nobody is saying, slavery was a intelligent thing. That's ridiculous, right? What we're saying is that you have to think from an economic entrepreneurial perspective and not let emotion. So I don't, the brutality of slavery and all that, okay, that's a reality. But so what we have to understand is how they used, okay, and it's not a good thing. I think he may be thinking that it's a good thing. How they used free human labor, okay, to build Europe and build those particular castles. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying. I'm just talking about the intelligence. Nobody's talking about if it was a good thing or whatnot, right? So, and the other thing is, I'll ask him the question: how does it affect you today? Why is it stopping you today? You didn't exist back then. You are living in Canada. What is your excuse, right? How does back then affect you today? You are a man of free will, okay? Why don't you go out and get it? If you continue to romanticize the past and grind through the past, the history is important from a learning perspective. And all we're saying is you have to learn from history and see how you can apply intelligence and the sophistication of self-preservation to help your situation today.
Okay. Sophia Jacob from Ottawa, long time no chat. Hope things are well in the Ottawa-Gatineau region. She goes, I sometimes wonder why we look at emotional responses as something that might defeat us. As human beings, we are emotional at times, and sometimes that is the response that comes out. So then she asks, is there not room for both emotion and indifference, or no emotion?
Okay, excellent question. So human nature, we are all emotional. My wife will tell you I'm highly emotional, right? She says, it calls me on, oh, Mr. Applied Intelligence, why are you reacting emotionally, right? But that question is a good question because we are all emotional beings. That is why we need to apply intelligence to govern and manage ourselves, because emotional decisions don't tend to work out well. So I'll bring it down to a more scientific perspective. There's a book, Thinking Fast and Think Slow, right? Where the author identifies system 1 and system 2. So system 1 is when we think quickly, we think fast. It's highly emotional, highly intuitive. Okay, those things don't usually lead to good results. System 2 now, which has been shown in science, is if we sit back, be a little bit more deliberative, be a little bit more cerebral. We think about things a little bit more. We be more mathematical. We be more calculative. Those results tend to be better. So what I would say to you is where, as humans, we are is the use of emotional intelligence. So applied intelligence is taking the application of intelligence and applying it to the problem at hand. But we are sentient beings and we are emotional and we can't get rid of that. So we have to govern our emotion. We have to govern our emotion, temper our emotion, and then use a little bit of what is emotional intelligence in terms of how we deliver messages or whatnot. So what I'm trying to offer in this book is if you grab it, you'll understand the science behind thinking, okay? Because it is scientific. So what happens is that in the emotional state, we exist in the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind controls 95% of our thinking. When we're able to escape or live more in consciousness, we tend to make less emotional decisions, okay, in the state of consciousness. So if we can exist in consciousness and make decision in consciousness, we tend to make the better decisions because most of the decisions a human makes is in the subconscious, which is highly, highly emotional.
Okay. Sophia just added here, sometimes I think the response given with emotion is one that helps you move forward. I guess it's just to master emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I would say not, because there's no evidence that shows that. It actually shows the opposite, right? What happens, and Sophia has some really good questions. What happens is that we are emotional beings. So we tend to think that our emotional feelings are right. It's only human. That's why you don't discuss politics and religion, right? Because people tend to believe their responses are the right one because it's emotional and it makes them feel good, okay? But it doesn't matter what you feel. All that matters is what's true or not true, right? So you can think emotionally and feel emotionally that helps you move forward, but there's no evidence of that, right? And the evidence shows the exact opposite. So for me, from a scientific perspective, right, I like to focus on the reliability of science as opposed to emotion. Emotion is not proven reliable.
Okay. Right. Dr. Tachi is here. She is great. And Dr. Tachi is actually going to be on the Morning Vibe a week from today, talking about everything media, tech, and pop culture. I also hosts a great conversation live every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's called Mediascope. It's 5 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram Live and 6 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and other platforms. So good to have you here as always, Dr. Tachi. This will probably be interesting. So 2 points here from Hayton. He says emotions and intelligence are not mutually exclusive. And then he asks a question. Black Wall Street was evidence of intelligence. It was destroyed by raw, naked brutality. What should we do with that reality?
Try again. I mean, the universe is filled with progress and destruction, progress and destruction. We don't give up. We try again. I mean, I think we have to understand something. When we use the word brutality is a function of a human condition, right? It is, listen, economics, get this straight. Economics is not a morality play. Economics is a power play. And people use brutality. Look, what's Putin doing now in Russia, right? Why do you think we have wars? This is life. So I think if we could understand the nature, the word, when I use nature, how things, human nature, how things survive in ecology, okay? Once we understand that, we will come at it with less emotion and understand. So my answer to that is try again. What let's go at it again. So if it's not about, life is not about, is about being knocked down and staying down. Life is about being knocked down and getting back up again. Okay, and do it better. And listen. And the other mistake we make is to compare eras. Okay, when Black Wall Street came in that era, that was a phenomenal thing. It showed, right, what Black people could do with their intelligence. Now, in that particular era, where white people could come and just destroy you and kill you, that was then. But now we're in a different era. So one of the mistakes we make, okay, is we use examples that's not relevant, and sometimes the examples we use are not helpful to us. So what is stopping us now from investing in each other, investing in technology, trying to create Black tech businesses and doing all these things and to participate in the universe? Because guess what's happening right now? I think I have another article on the Medium where I talk about don't believe the hype, which is the real truth about AI. The problem that we have, what we don't see happening right now, the world is moving and being controlled by data and AI. That's where we're going. And if us as Black people don't get into the areas of technology, okay, the economic divide is going to get even more brutal in the future. Because guess what? The people who are writing the algorithms, okay, those out for artificial intelligence, they create the biases because actual human beings, applied intelligence is not magic, it's not voodoo, right? It is programmed. So the AI is programmed, so it has to be programmed. And guess what? Who programs it? Programmers. And if the majority of programmers happen to be white, okay, their natural biases are going to be in there, and it's going to be harmful to us. So if we sit back and don't try to create equity in technology, we're going to be destroyed again. And one of the great thinkers, Yuval Harari, okay, has pointed out what he calls data colonialism, and he says who controls the data controls the world. Yeah. Because data is the new oil. Yeah. So if we continue to be distracted by all the things and romanticize racism, all the things of the past, and now the world is moving towards technology, and we know ChatGPT and all these things, you're going to be you're going to have less and less value in the universe if you do not adapt your skills to the way the world is moving. So you have a choice. You know, if you want wealth, if you want power, make the decisions to get you into the position to get wealth and power. Don't complain about, oh, this and oh, that. That doesn't help you. Complaining doesn't help you. It sets you back. It puts you into a negative mental state of mind because it puts you into believing you're a victim, number one. And number two, doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to be successful because there's some great power over there that controls the universe. No, it's what you do in your world, okay, to make it through. You know, from where I come from, my parents and all, in my book, I talk about you know, the success of my family, and I talk about my grandmother, okay, and my grandfather. And, you know, I have a lot of cousins, you know, who are super successful, doctors, lawyers, you know, working in the White House. I have a lot of that, okay, because I come from a culture of making no excuses. I come from a culture of high performance. Okay, and my grandparents knew. My father was a dark-skinned black man. Dark-skinned black man. All right, and he told me, and his grandparents knew that they started a business, a gas station and a bakery. Okay, and they knew, being that dark-skinned in the world and whatnot, they had to have it up here in their intellect, and the intellect is what made them successful. And from that little tiny bakery and gas station in Grenada, they're able to send their kids to the London School of Economics, universities in Canada or whatnot. And then my father's, you know, and brothers and sisters, their kids have that culture of performance, right? So there's nothing stopping us. So it's a culture. Once you start thinking of all the reasons why you can't do something, guarantee you're going to fail. Okay.
We're going to start winding it down because we're in an extra bonus time. But Dr. Chachi has some comments saying, I'm not sure that it is cut and dry as try again, though I agree with repeated tries. Perhaps it's more advantageous to take effort where it will be fruitful. She also says, for many people, it's not that simple, especially when the initial cause of trauma is never dealt with. Thus, while it may be just try again for some communities, for others it may not be.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. My question to her is, what do you do? And I go into trauma in this book, and I have some deep research in this book in regard to trauma. Nobody's saying not to deal with your trauma. You have to deal with your trauma, but you can't let your trauma control your present, because if your trauma is controlling your present, it's definitely going to impact your future. And it is as simple as that. Because I asked the question, people come up with questions and say, it's not as simple as that. Then tell me how, right? Tell me how. So what I do is I do things based on evidence. Okay. And in the book, I would encourage you to read the book, and you'll see the evidence. You'll see the path. I don't just talk about things. I give solutions. Because when people say, oh, it's not as simple as that, of course, you take it with a grain of salt. Nobody's saying it's this cut and dry, as simple as that. The universe has complexities, and there's complexities from finance, organization, institutions. There's a lot of complexities. But at the end of the day, life comes down to what you do next, right? So we can continue to make excuses, okay, about it's not as simple as that, and watch others continue to expand with the universe and us stand still. So you have a choice. So you're either going to get into it and try to do it and try again, because if you don't try again, what do you do? And trying again, yes, obviously, if you're going to try again, you got to do it more sophisticated. But the mistake I think she's making there is that when she said try again, she's not recognized the era that we're in. So when you go back to that era, when that happened again, well, trying again in that era might not be in the greatest thing, but we're not in that era. We're in the now. We exist in the now. The mistakes we do is we exist too much in the past. The past is the past. It's history. And the future is not here. All you can control is to control the now and control yourself by your actions. And don't make any excuses. Okay? Because the more we make excuses, the greater we debilitate ourselves to putting things in our head that we can't do things. And that's very destructive. That's very destructive to people. Once you have an idea in your head, there's a whole bunch of different things that are going to stop you from succeeding. Okay. And that's the wrong way to go. That's not, and the evidence supports that. Again, don't take my word for it. Okay. Go to the evidence. And I provide a lot of evidence in this book, or do the research on yourself. Be skeptical of people who tell you can't do things. Okay. Because others are doing things. Others are successful. So when people tell you that, oh, you can't do it this way. No, that's wrong. Be very skeptical. Focus on the evidence and focus on the science. And that's what I try to do. Okay.
So a few more comments. Dr. Tachi is on fire here going, that said, the causes of the trauma are never feel beholden to provide reparations or even acknowledge that they caused the trauma. We do need to find ways to move forward, maybe in a different place. Hayden says, however, race was constructed today. It's a real pretending that it does not. It's real pretending that it does not exist is dangerous for our children. Dr. Tachi says, cultural absolutely does have much to do with your outlook on success. She says, I too am from an immigrant family, Nigerians, where your success is not debatable. I do see, though, the differences between how I grew up and some other Black families. And then finally, she says, I do recognize the year that we're in. There is a comment that I made that addresses what you said. I never said not to try. I do give a solution.
So listen, hey, we're all good. And you know what? The beautiful thing about that is if I probe discussion, okay, we have to ask hard questions. Okay, and we can't be afraid to question ourselves. And I want to go back to the question of this other gentleman, Hayden, talk about pretending racism doesn't exist. Nobody says that. Okay, what it is if you use racism, okay, you can use racism. Look, I have 3 kids, okay, and my kids are all high performers, and they've all succeeded in highly what you call white areas. They've all gone to the best universities. Okay. If I put in their minds for a second, okay, and I walk them into the top universities and saying, oh, you can't compete here because racism exists, they have no chance. They have no chance. So what I'm trying to explain to Hayden, pick up the book, focus on chapter quantitative thinking and the disorder, the racism disorder, and read the science. Read the science, okay? Because how you think is what you become. So if you tell your kids, I don't think any parent or anybody's going to talk about racism doesn't exist. I don't think anybody said that. But it's how you think that's important. Because if you think racism, here's a subconscious thing. Okay, 95% of your brain is controlled in the subconscious, right? If you go in with a mindset that racism is going to, keep you down, then it's going to work. Okay, Mike's, my son, for example, plays golf. He played AAA hockey, and he goes into a golf club. He's the only Black kid there, right? And he kills it. Okay. If I taught him to think, oh, you're the only Black kid on the golf course. Oh, you walk into a room you walk into McGill and or Harvard or Yale or whatever. And because there's less Blacks, no, nobody thinks like that. Okay. You can't perform if you think like that. And that is the disorder in racism. So what I'm trying to tell people, understand the disorder and understand how it can affect your mind and think about a new paradigm of thinking. So what I would encourage Hayden to do, okay, maybe I'm plugging my book here at the same time. One of the things we don't do in our society is read. We rely on TikTok and social media and all those things, which is fine, okay? But you can't get real answers unless you read. You get into the history, get into the information. And once you read, you will understand, and reading is fundamental. And the dangers that we have in society now is that we rely on social media for our information as opposed to the fundamentals of reading. So, Hayden, go on Amazon, pick up the book, go to the chapter, and come back and tell me what you think then.
All right. Well, we got a few more last comments and we're going to shut it down. O'Donnell says we need to build and create better systems for ourselves by ourselves. And also, Dedon says recognizing that it exists, but teaching ourselves and our youth to move around the construct of racism or any other limitations that other tribes put on you. So I think that is a good last closing comment. Perry, as always, what's next for you?
Man, so what's next for me is I'm in the process now of applied intelligence. We're in the process now with my boy Andrew Bromfield of developing software, so strategy software. So I walk the talk, and you have to be, in order to create equity and create wealth, you have to be in technology and you have to be in software. So we are developing software, strategy-based software, in AI enabled, to help organizations and to help people, and particularly to help the Caribbean along this way. So applied intelligence book, the next stage of that is in the software development game, and we're going for it. And that's the only way. That's how we roll, man.
Good stuff. Perry's book, AI, Applied Intelligence, New Thinking for the Caribbean, Prosperity in the 21st Century. That's a little snip of it there. There's also, you can catch him online on Medium. Also, just want to get there's another comment in here. Sure. There we go. Let me just make sure get a few more comments. Dedon says, I have a special needs child who doesn't know that the world labels her as such. She moves forward despite.
You know what? That is beautiful. Yeah. That is beautiful. And I'm going to say my friend, Pat Dillon, she has a special needs child, and she tells me, and her child is a little she's a little entrepreneur. She's called DJ Storm. She has her own little radio show, right? And Pat says she doesn't know that she is quote unquote special needs. So she just goes. So I think that's a beautiful thing. It's your mind, right? So if you don't focus on that and you just focus on going, so Dr. Don, beautiful.
All right. Dr. Tachi agrees with the comment of O'Downer saying we need to build and create better systems for ourselves by ourselves. Hayden says, I'm successful in spite of racism. Admitting the reality of racism is not automatically disabling. However, it is a fact that should be dismissed. And then Divine Right says, reading is fundamental.
There you go. There you go.
So, Dr. Tachi, this was a thought-provoking conversation. Absolutely. That's why we bring this guy back. This is why I'm actually thinking, Dr. Tachi, I would love to have you and Perry on together and
let's do it.
Some things.
Let's do it.
Very, very. So if you're up to it, Dr. Tachi, I would love to have it. So Perry, as always, thanks for taking the time to share with us. Yes, and people, Perry and I are having conversations back channel wise to have him on more often, because there is a lot of thought he's dropping and a lot of people responding. These are the type of conversations you don't hear all the time and everywhere in non-melanated media, period, in North America. This is what we're aiming for. So this is good stuff. So Perry, as always, remember to give yourself grace. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Thanks again. And we'll be chatting this week to having you on a little bit more often, because we appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you and everything you do, man.
Be well and keep the faith.
Thank you, man.
Wow. And I loved it because the people that came on the live came on for the whole thing. You came in for the whole shot. Love it. Love it. Absolutely fantastic today. So we're finished for Monday, and a few things. First things first. Again, as always, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. And when you do, especially on YouTube, like it, subscribe, notifications, bang. Everywhere else, like it, whether it's my Facebook page or any of the platforms you see this, that Ryan is part of ACBN, his own page. Appreciate it. And share the word. Spread it out. Spread it out. Would you like to promote your business or service on the show? Contact me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you want to get in touch with me, multiple ways. Website, the drvibeshow.com. Email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. Twitter, at drvibeshow. Instagram, at the drvibeshow.com. And along the bottom, it's been scrolling. You can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and the Afro Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and LinkedIn, and Ryan Oneil Knight on YouTube and LinkedIn. Wow, that was fire for a Monday. Yes. Our brains, like everyone who watches live on the replay, you're going to be doing some thinking. That's why we have Perry on, to just get the thing. You may not agree with everything he says, but he's causing thought. All right? So as always, this is how we close it out. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace, and don't just manage your time. Manage energy. Manage your energy. We will see you on Friday morning with Terry Johnson, a new friend on the Morning Vibe Show family. You want to hear what's going on social media-wise, social media marketing, analytics. You don't want to miss it. Terry is going to give you some game. And if you thought today you got some deep thought about culture, Terry's going to give you some deep thought about social media marketing analytics. She is a go-to person for myself. So do not miss out. And remember, share it out, watch the replay. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Walk good.